Okay, good afternoon. I request everybody to settle down. I know we had a very star attraction in the last panel. This panel too has two star attractions, one from Pakistan and one from the field experienced Vijay Bharati from Andhra Pradesh. My name is Raj Buditi. I'm doing my mid-career here in HKS. On behalf of my co-panelist Ranjavati Banerjee, I deem it a great privilege to welcome all of you to this panel discussion on empowering women at the bottom of the pyramid to overcome gender inequality and poverty in India. I think very relevant topic given the theme of this conference. The next decade belongs to India, says the Harvard Center for International Development. But will this incredible growth story be gender and socially inclusive? This panel would discuss the specific challenges and opportunities for working poor women at the bottom of the economic pyramid. And in the Indian context, it obviously means the nuanced challenges facing the vulnerable households of underprivileged groups. I'll be introducing the moderator for this panel, Professor Martha Chen. She's a lecturer in public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School, an affiliated professor at the Harvard Graduate School of Design, and international coordinator of the Global Research Policy Action Network called WIGO. An experienced development practitioner and scholar, her areas of specialization are employment, gender, and poverty, with a focus on the working poor in the informal economy. I think the right person to anchor this panel. Before joining Harvard in 1987, she had 2 decades of resident experiences in Bangladesh, working with BRAC, and in India with Oxfam. Dr. Chen was awarded Padma Shri by the Government of India in 2011. I now request Professor Chen to introduce the panel speakers, a little bit about the panel, and initiate the discussion. Thank you.
Namaste and good afternoon. And it's a real pleasure to welcome you to this very important panel. And I want to thank the organizers, Ranjavati Banerjee and Raj Buditi, Nayana Renu Kumar, and Amit Tambade for organizing a panel on this important topic of empowering women at the bottom of the pyramid, and for inviting such a distinguished set of speakers. And special thanks also to Rainana Javvala and Sanjay Kumar from Seva Bharat, who co-sponsored the panel. As we all know, India is one of the biggest and most important economies in the world. Yet, India faces major challenges, not least persistent poverty and growing inequality. A key defining feature of the Indian economy is the fact that over 90% of the workforce is informally employed, that is, without legal or social protection. And a large share of economic units in the country are also informal, that is, unincorporated and small. Recent estimates suggest that 75% of all manufacturing units in India are informal, small and unincorporated. In other words, the informal economy represents the very broad base of the Indian workforce and the Indian business profile and the economy. We also know that most of the informal workers are poor and also from disadvantaged communities. And so long as the working poor in the informal economy are stigmatized as somehow gray, illegal, underground, or even criminalized, as many of them are, by policymakers and by government authorities, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to reduce poverty and inequality. The working poor in the informal economy, they have to be recognized for their contribution They need to be provided with legal and social protections, and they need to be empowered to demand economic justice and secure their livelihoods. This will help not only to reduce poverty and inequality, but also to increase growth in India. This panel will focus on women in the informal economy who really are at the bottom of the economic pyramid. This is because women are more likely than men to be informally employed. They are more likely than men to be subcontracted workers paid by the piece, or contributing family workers in family units or on family farms that are not paid. They are more likely to be working in private homes rather than offices or factories or even open spaces. If you look at urban India today, 1 in 3 women workers produces goods for the market from her own home. And 1 in 10 works as a domestic worker in the home of others. So empowering women at the bottom of the pyramid is really a key pathway to overcoming both poverty and gender inequality. And we are indeed fortunate that our panelists today are such distinguished leaders of such well-known, well-recognized organizational efforts to empower working poor women in India and South Asia. The Self-Employed Women's Association, SEWA, the National Rural Support Program of Pakistan, and the Self-Help Group Movement of India. Our first speaker is not here. She sends her regret, is Rainana Jabwala. She regrets she's not able to join us, but she has videotaped her remarks, so she will appear on all the screens all around us. She will be present with us. After studying math at Harvard College and economics at Yale University, Rainana returned to India and joined SEWA in 1977. Today, she is the national coordinator of SEWA and chair of SEWA Bharat, which is the National Federation of SEWA affiliates in 10 states across India. She is also the chancellor of Gandhigram Rural Institute, and she just this week joined a high-level UN panel on women's economic empowerment, our topic, chaired by Ban Ki-moon. She's also served on any number of expert groups and commissions organized by the government of India, and has written extensively on the intersection of informal employment, gender, and social policy. Among other awards, she received a Padma Shri from the government of India. And on a personal note, I have had the great privilege and deep joy of working closely with SEWA, and especially Rainana, since 1979. So I haven't done my math, but that's a large number of years. So I am delighted that she is able to participate on this panel, albeit by video. So now we have to hope that the goddess of technology will allow. Oh, she's up there. There she is, ready to go. Okay, Rainana.
I'm really happy to be here with you today. Although I do apologize for not being in person, and so I will not be able to answer your questions. However, we have Dr. Chen, who is an honorary member of SEWA, a long-time associate of SEWA, and so if you have any questions, I'm sure she'll be able to talk to you about them. We're talking about women who work and yet remain poor. That is the women in the informal economy. The first reason of their poverty is that they and their work is invisible. It's not captured in any official statistics. It's captured to some extent, but really not fully, not recognized as workers or producers or entrepreneurs. women who work on the farms, who are farmers, are not seen as farmers. The man is always the farmer. Women who work in their homes, there are about 30 million, maybe more, 35 million in India, who produce goods for the market, and yet they remain invisible because they are in their homes. They work within their own home and they produce for the market. So they may be stitching, or they may be making incense sticks, or they may be making books or food processing, all kinds of things. But they are not counted and they're not seen as producers or as workers or as entrepreneurs. Women work in the farms. There is in India a real feminization of agriculture because men are moving off the farms. So the small farms that women have, or the small farms they don't have but they share crop in, those are the ones that are run by women. So women are the farmers, but they're not recognized as farmers, they're not listed as farmers, they're not counted as farmers, and all the benefits that go to farmers like seeds and minimum support prices and so on, they don't go to them. So women are invisible as workers, and that is something that my organization, SEBA, Self-Employed Women's Association, has been trying to tackle, address. How? By bringing women together, organizing them so that their work, that they become visible. So they are no longer regarded only as mothers, as the mothers of sons who come into the workforce, or daughters who have to be married off, but they are productive people in society, productive citizens of the society. SEBA was formed many years ago in 1972 by Ila Bhatt. There were many women who were entrepreneurs, street vendors who were selling fruits and vegetables, women working in their houses, producing garments, producing food, and they had to take loans for their businesses. They were taking them at 10% per month. And so we tried to approach the banks and say, you are giving loans at less than 1% per month, and it will hugely drive up the productivity of these women. But they wouldn't get loans from the big banks, and so we formed our own bank. And the bank, we never took any money from outside. The women put in shares. They said, we are poor, but we are so many. So they all put in small amounts of shares. They saved, and they built up a capital and began taking loans. We actually, SEBA Bank was the first microfinance institution, the first one ever. But we believe that the microfinance institutions is not only there to give loans, but to provide all kinds of financial services. And even today, I'm talking about 40 years ago, but the situation has not changed all that much, in spite of many bank accounts opening, in spite of women taking loans from microfinance institutions. So SEBA Bank is not only a loan-giving institution. It provides financial access for the whole life cycle of the woman, from birth, when a child needs education, to marriage, to work, to illness, to disasters, and until she passes away. I went to a colony where a lot of women, a lot of families had been so-called rehabilitated, removed from slums and taken away far. They were given little plots of land, but they weren't given houses. And they, again, thinking back 40 years, they had to take loans at 10% per month to build their houses. And so we have just started a new venture called the SEBA Housing Finance Company, SEBA Grihi Rin, where we're unique because we give loans to women, which is not usual for houses, We give loans for women who have informal incomes, and we give loans for titles which cannot be mortgaged otherwise. So in a way, SEBA has always been in the forefront of bringing women into the financial field. But finance alone is not enough. So what they need is income. Now, loans help them with income, savings helps them with difficult times, it's a cushion, but they need much more. Let me give you an example. When I first joined so many years ago, I found that there were many women who were within their homes making quilt covers out of little pieces of cloth. And they were earning very, very little because the raw materials were expensive and they didn't have access to the market. We helped them to form a cooperative, and through that cooperative they were able to enter the market and their earnings doubled. And then we saw this again and again. This way we expanded with making many, many, many cooperatives, and we expanded out of Gujarat. Today we are in 14 states, and we have a cooperative in Bihar which makes incense sticks. And we have gone to the next level. That cooperative had also formed a company which sends the incense sticks and then sells them to big companies. We have a women's organic farmer cooperative in Uttarakhand where they grow organic spices and sell them to a very lucrative organic market. We have a trade facilitation center in Gujarat which again helps to sell women's products in the international market. We have over 100 cooperatives. We have employment, income, women get more productive, but then often they have to spend a lot. Why? Because for most of these women, their bodies, their physical labor is their wealth. So health is wealth as far as they are concerned. I mean, literally. And in India, we don't have a social safety net. So when the women get ill, when they have children, they have to look after them and work at the same time. There's really no social protection. And so we realized this very soon. And the first thing that, very soon after we formed SEVA, we realized that it was important to help the women maintain their health. We found that there was a system, that system has grown, a public health system. There's a huge private health system. And when somebody gets ill, they go deep into debt. And therefore, we helped to form a health cooperative where grassroots health workers, whether they're midwives, nursing assistants, and also doctors, they reach out to women in the informal sector and bring them in both to the health system as well as, what's very important, is public health. So in many parts of India you find that people don't have toilets, and so we've spent a lot of time and energy actually helping people to build their toilets. We find that there's often a lot of wastewater, waste. If you go to the small towns in India today, they're perhaps some of the filthiest places. In India today, education has become very important. Over the last 10 years, the poorest parents want to educate both their boys and their girls. Girls' education is a priority, but women's work is not a priority. So girls get educated, but then what then? What next? And we found, say in a state like Bihar, one of the poorest states, we found that girls who have passed 10th class, over 60% of those girls say that they are unemployed. So what was the point of all that education? The big gap is that the education does not teach skills. And therefore, teaching skills has become a very important area for SEVA and for the country. But for girls, that's not enough, because there are a lot of social taboos. You can't go out at night, you can't go to this place, you can't go far. If you go out and something happens, what will happen to our honor, and so on and so forth. Also, girls have very unrealistic understanding of what the marketplace looks like. So along with skill training, SEVA's helped to form youth clubs and also mentoring by girls in the university. So again, bringing these girls who have been out of the mainstream for generations perhaps into the mainstream of education, skills, and then work. Finally, what's one of the real problems is that you can keep on working on the ground and organizing women and doing microfinance, but policies are such that they often work against these women, against poor people in general. Let me give you a couple of examples. I told you about the farmers, that women are not recognized as farmers, therefore don't get any benefits as farmers. Many women and men sell on the streets. They are street vendors. There's about 10 million street vendors, at least in urban India. It's a form of livelihood. It's a service. But there's no planning for them. So all street vendors are illegal. And if all street vendors are illegal, that means that their earnings, their productivity, they get criminalized. So everything remains low. And at any point in time, those street vendors the municipality can swoop down on them and just move them out. And so changing mindsets, changing policies is a very important function that we need to do. And as we do all this, changing people's lives, women's lives, changing their incomes, bringing in social protection, women join more and more. Today, we have 1.9 million members, and a member is a woman who pays a fee in order to join. So the power of organizing, the power of coming together and making yourself visible, I think that is what is being successful for us. A question I'd like to put is, what can we do? What can we as educated, middle class, people who've had some privilege, what can we do for society? And I give my own example. I finished my BA here in mathematics, and then I went to Yale and I was doing a PhD in economics, finished my MA, and I went back to India. And I joined SEVA, and I found my role was the role of a bridge. I could bring resources, money, that's very important, knowledge, linkages, respectability. I could bring that to the women on the ground, and the other way around. The women could give me their knowledge, they could give their strength, show how they were struggling and yet were remaining poor, and show all the we found so many innovative ways in which people pulled themselves out of poverty. So I became a bridge from the mainstream to the women and from the women to the mainstream. And I think that's an important role that all of us can play.
I think she entered our panel quite effectively. Thank you, Renana. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Shoaib Sultan Khan. He's a pioneer of rural development programs in Pakistan, but his influence is felt everywhere, including, of course, India. He established the Aga Khan Rural Support Program in 1982, and it morphed and transformed and expanded into the National Rural Support Program around a decade later. And the program, the RSP, targets poverty-stricken villages and engages local communities in development programs with a focus really on community organization and mobilization. Shoaib Sultan Khan has won several prestigious awards, including the Magsaysay Award and the Hilal-e-Imtiaz from the President of Pakistan. In 1995, as an advisor to UNDP, under its South Asia Poverty Alleviation Program, he brought his concepts and methods from Pakistan to India, to Andhra Pradesh in particular. On a personal note, again, my son Greg Chen, an HKS graduate, alumnus, used to work with AKRSP in northern Pakistan and knows Shoaib Sahib quite well. So it is a great personal pleasure to welcome Shoaib Sultan Khan to Harvard and to this conference. Please.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you very much, Professor Chen, for the nice introduction. I'm really grateful to the organizers of the conference for giving me this honor, inviting me here to speak to you today. And I know it's especially my friend Rajshekhar who must have engineered it, but I'm grateful to him. I'm a little nervous because my granddaughter has come all the way from New York to listen to me. And I know that my speech will be put under a microscope and a postmortem will be after I have spoken. Actually, when I look back on 63 years of my working life, 25 years at Pakistan Administrative Service Officer, 14 years with UNICEF and UNDP, 12 years with Geneva-based Aga Khan Foundation, and for the last 11 years associated with rural support programs of Pakistan in an honorary capacity. I'm reminded of 40 years ago when I met a visionary. This morning somebody was asking me, one of the students, that how do you get a vision? And I had no vision. My vision was to join the administrative service, and I had got it, and I thought that, well, that was the end of my ambition. And he was also in the Indian civil service, ICS, which was supposed to be the steel framework of the British Empire. But he resigned. And he resigned not because he was against the colonial administration. He resigned, he told me, because he found that they had no answer to rural poverty. And this was when he was serving in Bengal, and famine happened there. And in fact, he wrote at one place that what my sneering friends dismissed as my charisma was an acquired skill, a skill acquired after a long period of apprenticeship under British, Gandhian, and American masters. A skill further sharpened by the study of many successful models in other countries, Germany, Japan, Yugoslavia, China, India, and Israel. I never felt ashamed of long and multiple discipleship. I never pretended to be an original thinker. And what great man he was that when he died, I received a letter from Nobel laureate Professor Yunus. And I quote, "It is not enough to say that he was a great man. He was one of the great human beings of the past century. He was so much ahead of everybody else that he was considered a misfit and not appreciated for his greatness." Why? But we have a lot to discover and a whole lot to learn from him. Dr. Hamid Khan taught me the theory of how to help the subsistence holders, comprising principles which he said he had learned from what happened in the world over centuries and how poor came out of poverty. And he particularly used to mention Raiffeisen, who in 1849 used to, although he himself was a mayor of a small principality in Germany, but he would collect the subsistence holders, the poor, and would say that you are being crushed by three giants. And who were those three giants in 1849 in Germany? The landlord, the moneylender, and the shopkeeper. So these three principles, he said, which means that the poor have to fulfill certain obligations before anything can be done for them, which is individually they can't do much. They have to get organized. And not only get organized, but they have to find a competent and honest leader amongst themselves to run the organization. Secondly, capital is power. And unless they generate their own capital through discipline of savings, they will never be financially viable. And thirdly, he would say that you have this innate potential in you to do things better, to get out of the situation that you are in. And like what Michelangelo used to say when his David was praised, that I have done nothing. David was already in the marble. I simply removed the superfluous material. And that's what his belief was, Hamid Khan's, that every poor woman, every poor man has that potential. Unfortunately for me, in 1991, a SARC heads of state set up a commission called Independent Commission for Poverty Alleviation. And I had by then completed about 10 years of implementing the Aga Khan Rural Support Program. The AKRSP had only two objectives: that the income of the million people who lived there should be doubled, and there should be also a replicable model developed. And they asked the World Bank that every 5 years they should come and assess the Aga Khan Rural Support Program. In the first assessment after 5 years, the World Bank said that the first 4 years of this program are the missed 4 years of all World Bank funded programs, because the World Bank adopted a blueprint approach, whereas this program had a process approach. So I was very happy that whatever I had learned from Hamid Khan was really being endorsed by the bank. And after 10 years when they came and assessed, they said that in real terms, the income of the million people had more than doubled. Now, having this being done by the World Bank, I was then on the global scene. And the commission, the Independent South Asia Commission, of which Abid was also a member, they made an overarching recommendation that these three principles, which they dubbed as social mobilization, that should be the centerpiece for all poverty reduction strategies of South Asian countries. And this recommendation was presented in 1993 at Dhaka to the SARC summit. And I don't know whether the heads of states understood what it was, but they fully endorsed it. And obviously did nothing. But World Bank convened a workshop on that report. And in that workshop, there was a representative from UNDP, New York, and he approached me and asked me that would I be willing to be a senior advisor to a South Asia poverty alleviation program. And I said that, well, there are 6 countries involved besides Pakistan, but I can try, because I knew that I had this theory of development which has already proved to be effective. And this is why I mean, why I'm obsessed with social mobilization, because I've seen this happening everywhere, wherever it has been implemented. And the results have been the same. And obviously, for 12 years, I had experienced and witnessed the miracle of social mobilization in northern areas of Pakistan. I remember when I used to go to the villagers and ask them that, look, nothing can be done unless and until you do these obligations you have to fulfill. And they would say, we are so poor. How are we going to save money? How are we going to do this? But we said that if you want a collaboration with the program, you have to fulfill these three conditions. And I tell you that these micro-investment plans which the people made, the organized communities, it was their plan. No one had imposed it on them. This was grassroots planning. Grassroots planning is not telling the people what outside planners feel is good for the rural poor, but what the poor feel that they can do, and it is good for them. And when in 1994, as Professor Chen mentioned, UNDP New York asked me to take the lessons to northern areas, from northern areas to South Asia, I knew that the problems of the poor are the same wherever they may be. Their handicaps and deprivations are the same. Similarly, the theory of development is equally applicable irrespective of country, religion, caste, or politics. In 8 years of my sojourn under the SAPAP, South Asia Poverty Alleviation Program, through Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, I did not come across a single community which was unwilling. I also found no dearth of honest and competent local leaders, which I felt was the real social capital of the community. SAPAP undertook demonstration pilots, because that's all that we could do. UNDP didn't have very deep pockets. In Maldives, an atoll of 14,000 population was considered an FFT unit, whereas in India, I was advised to take a demonstration comprising 10 million people. I argued it does not matter how big an area is selected, because, like the Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. We wasted 1 year in experimenting adopting a campaign mode, till I went to my friend Venugopal, who was the principal secretary to the Prime Minister, and said that I don't think we'll get anywhere with this approach. And then he found an IAS officer called K. Raju. I brought him to Gilgit to see what communities can do, because the main thing was, how do we convince that the people have potential, the people can do so many things. And that's, after that, I didn't have to argue with anyone. They were totally convinced that what communities can do and what they had achieved. Even in the northern areas, they had tunneled mountains and gone over. So, 1995 in India, when I met the groups of women, they were earning no more than 5 rupees a day weeding the farmers' fields. And last time when I was invited by Rajshekhar to go there, I found that they can access as much money as possible. The Vice President of the World Bank once asked me, is there any country where what you have done in Pakistan can be done? I said, why don't you come with me to Andhra Pradesh? So she came and spent 5 days with me, going to villages. And then she wrote to me, and I quote, "I have just returned to Washington and did not want my time to pass on before sending you a note of deep appreciation for making my dream visit to Andhra Pradesh possible. Every time I visit South Asia, I learn and grow as a professional. But the visit to India with you was extraordinary in many ways. I gained invaluable insights into foundations of poverty alleviation as an economist and a development banker. I feel I also grew a little wiser, perhaps, as a human being. That fire in my belly is definitely back again, and so are the stars in my eyes. It was one of those trips I wished never to end, and felt as if I lived 1,000 lives now that it has ended. I do not know how to thank you enough. Thank you all the same from the bottom of my heart." And I have taken to an area where I'm so happy, Vijay Bharti, she's the one who had brought about this miracle. But ultimate appreciation that I got was really when the Indian Minister for Rural Development, Mr. Jairam Ramesh, in a preface which was of a biography written by an Australian on me, and Mr. Jairam Ramesh said, "Shoaib Sultan Khan pioneered the concept through his landmark Aga Khan Rural Support Program in Pakistan. With the support of UNDP, he introduced the concept of poverty reduction through community organizations through South Asia Poverty Alleviation Program in India. The pilot initiative of SEPAP led to a full-fledged program based on the principles of development through community organization under the Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty in Andhra Pradesh. And with support of World Bank, the project has seen the journey of over 10 million organized households from despair to hope, from diffidence to confidence, from subjugation to empowerment in last decade. The spirit of community empowerment has continued to thrive in India since then, and thus has much to benefit from Shoaib Khan's vision and efforts." I know it's too exaggerated, but getting this from the minister, it was really very something which really was most inspiring for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shoaib Sahib. And I know that there's much more to tell from the 63 years. And I just want to underscore the name of Akhtar Hamid Khan. If anyone wants to read about rural development in the most beautiful prose, I would highly recommend reading Akhtar Hamid Khan, who was also a guru for me in Bangladesh. So now we do turn to Andhra Pradesh and to Vijay Bharati, who for some 30 years has been engaged in what Shoaib Sahib has been talking about, which is social mobilization, group formation, and building of self-help groups at the district and also the sub-district levels. She's the honorary advisor of a federation called Om Plis, which is a federation of some 10,000 rural poor women. And her work has focused on building the capacity and leadership of women and has reached actually more than 1 million women in the country. And she, of course, has also worked at levels beyond the grassroots and has experience with a number of international agencies and in different countries, including Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Sudan. But what she really continues to do is to work on the front line in Andhra Pradesh. And I am sure, because of that grassroots grounding, bring us a very unique perspective to this panel. So it's also a pleasure to welcome Vijay to Harvard and to the conference. Please.
My dear students of great Harvard, Kennedy School, Boston, and respected guests, Namaste, Adab, Sat Sri Akal, good evening. Today's topic is empowering women at the bottom of the pyramid and the challenges in that process. In this context, what else I can share with you except the great social movement that is happening silently in India, led by the women at the bottom of the pyramid. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, 30 million rural poor women, they organized themselves into self-help groups. This movement is really bringing a silent change in the lives of the poor as well as the lives of the rural poor women. Today, forum, I want to share with all of you how this movement is different from the other poverty alleviation programs before. After independence, we have so many 5-year plans, so many budgets, so many poverty alleviation programs. Still poverty prevails in India. That means we are committing some serious mistakes. This movement, self-help group movement of India, we learned so many lessons, what kind of mistakes we are committing in poverty alleviation and women empowerment. We learned lessons. 3-4 lessons are very serious. The first lesson we learned in this movement was we are missing the targets. Even though we say that this program is for the poor, in the real sense, it is not. I will tell you a small story. Once upon a time, there was a teacher. He has 5 students and he taught them archery. He wanted to test them one day. He took them to the forest and showed them a big tree, and one bird was sitting on the branches of the tree. And the teacher said, "My dear students, look at the bird. You have hit the eye pupil of the bird." The first student came forward. He aimed at the bird. Then teacher said, "Stop. I want to ask you a question before you release the arrow. What is there before you?" The first student said, "Teacher, there is a big mango tree before me." Teacher was not happy. He was not allowed to release the arrow. The second one came. He is Bhimasena. He is very fond of food. So he said, "Teacher, there are big mangoes before me." The third student said, "I am looking at the bird." Fourth said, "I am looking at the head of the bird." Only the last student said, "There is nothing before me except the eye pupil of the bird." And he was allowed to release the arrow, and that arrow went and hit the eye pupil of the bird. In all the poverty alleviation programs, we are missing the target. I will give you one example. There was one program called distributing ration cards to the poor. You know, distributing rice and oil and some provisions. One day there was a complaint and I went to the village. The number of the ration cards distributed are double to the number of the population in that village. And finally, 50 poor are on the line with their petitions. "Madam, we don't get ration cards. They are left over, but double the number of ration cards were distributed," missing the target. This is always happening in all the poverty alleviation programs. The poor, the Dalits, the helpless, the vulnerable, we are not serious about them, even though the programs are on their name. So, this social movement of women, self-help group movement, that answers that question. It gave us an opportunity to correct that mistake. How? Here, in this movement, the government officers and politicians are not identifying the poor. The poor, identifying the poor. The women in the village, the senior group, the empowered women, the first group, they will go house to house and identify the other poor women. There is no chance of missing the poor. The Ramasubbamma, who is a beggar, who is a nomadic tribal, was identified. Ratnamma, whose husband was a bonded labor and she has 4 child labor children, she was identified. Ramakka, who lost her 4 children because of poverty, she was identified. Tajunisa Begum, who was not allowed to come out of the house because of their religion, she was identified. This is the beauty of the women movement. Women only can understand women. Poor can only understand poor. So the identification of the poor by the poor woman, it is one of the lifelines of this movement. The second reason we identified in this movement was discrimination against women. I am not talking about the women students of Harvard or Hyderabad. I am talking about the women in one of the remote villages of my country. How she looks like, what kind of bondages she has to bring her to the mainstream. I want to show you within 1 minute by doing a demonstration, and I request one of you can come here and volunteer me. Any girl, please come here. One more girl also, please, both of you. Only 1 minute. Don't think she's a Harvard student. Please imagine her as one of my Ratnamma in one of the remote village. She's a girl child in one of the Indian villages, and I am the society. She said, Daddy, I want to go to high school. Then I said, high school? It is very far away, it's 5 kilometers. You cannot go alone. No, 5th class is enough for you. No need to improve your knowledge. That is enough. No. If woman is educated so much, it is very dangerous to this world. And she said, no father, I will learn how to go by cycle. Please allow me. Girls, cycling? No. How the society will think? You don't get any good match after that. Everybody will say, you spoil your child. Girls should be, their movement should be restricted, you know. At least I will go nearby and learn computers. Computers, it is only boys. If you want, you can learn cooking from your mother. Better, tailoring also I will permit. Even the womb of the Indian woman is not in her control. The doctor says, look husband, she is going to die. It is the 5th delivery. She don't have blood. No. I don't allow her to undergo family planning. Why? I don't have son. Then what? No, I want to go to heaven. If I have son only, I can go to heaven. So even the womb of the rural poor women, it is under control of the society. You say this is injustice. You shout. This is injustice. Shout.
This is injustice.
Shut up. You have to only to listen. You don't need to ask questions. She looks like a joker and we can laugh, but this is the reality that Gandhi says the soul of India lies in the villages, and 100% of the village women, there are so many unseen bondages like this around her. When 50% of the population in India is like this, how can we expect poverty alleviation? As long as government and society thinks that women should development, women need development, it is wrong. When we say development needs women, then only we can overcome poverty. The third major gap we found in this movement was poor do not have their own organizations and platforms. So in the self-help group movement of India, so many organizations were formed by these women at the bottom rock. Self-help groups, village organizations, block level federations, district level federations. So now they have some platform. You may ask me one question, what kind of change this platform can bring? Self-help group means microfinance. It is only thrift and credit. They will take loan and start livelihood. No, this is a wrong conception. As long as this world treats self-help group as a microfinance organization and simply for thrift and credit, we are going in a wrong route. This small unit of self-help group will do miracles in the lives of the rural poor women. How? Once the poor woman joined the group, the first change in her life is identification. She is no more the wife or mother or daughter of a man. She is the member of the organization, member of the village organization, president of the mandal level federation, secretary of the district level organization. That is called identification, own identification. That is the first change. The second change was sharing and caring. She will get a platform to share his emotions, to share her emotions, sorrow or happiness with her fellow friends in the group meeting. That will lighten her heart. That will lighten her heart. She is far away from her mother's place after marriage. Nobody to understand her feelings. This small platform will understand her heartbeat, sharing and caring. That becomes a safety net for her. Police station is far away. Laws are far away. The unions are far away. But the closest safety net for rural poor women is her own organization. That is self-help group. I still remember one of the daughter of the self-help group member was beaten up by her husband and deserted. All the self-help group members went to that village, filed a case against that fellow. He was arrested and that girl was brought to the mother's place and the group settled another marriage for her and settled her life. So if she is alone, that will never happen. Because there is a force behind her, some security, some safety net is coming because of that small group. It is not a small group, it is a magic platform for the women to protect her. That is the third benefit for a rural poor woman because of that self-help group. The fourth one is capital available for her. Before joining the group, if she want to buy a sari, she has to beg, my dear husband, give me 500 rupees. So husband, if he is in good mood, he will give. If he is not in a good mood, a reverse reaction will come, dependency. Because of dependency, she is not able to participate in any decision-making process at home. Now, a reverse reaction. One day, the husband did not take the dinner. He is very sorrowful, sitting outside thinking something. She will go and say, my dear husband, why are you so sad? Oh, you need 10,000 rupees now for fertilizers. Don't worry. Tomorrow is our meeting. I will bring 10,000 rupees. Come on, take dinner. So, this seems to be very simple. When she becomes self-reliant and participate in the economic development of the family, so much of change in her life. Sons will listen to her. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, husband. Everybody will listen and allow her to participate in decision-making process. It is a small platform, but it is doing magic in the lives of the women. So, this is the movement. I worked in Orvakal Mandal Samakhya for the past 20 years. I am working there. I want to share with you what kind of area it was. Please listen to me. Yes, madam. It was a drought-prone area. Huge migration. 90% of the women are illiterate. Moreover, if you have 10,000 rupees in your hand, you can kill your wife. No case will go to the police station. It is in 1995. In that area, we worked for the past 20 years. Till today, we are working. So what I want to share is today, every poor woman has a beautiful house. No more bonded labor. All the landless, they purchased 1 acre or 2 acres of land. In every house, there are 2-3 livelihoods. That mandal becomes 27 villages become child labor free villages. That is okay. But the most interesting thing is these women who are the pioneers, who came out of poverty because of this movement, 500 women from those villages, they become community resource persons and traveling all over the country. Bihar, Rajasthan, Haryana, Jammu Kashmir, Nagaland, Mizoram, Tripura. This illiterate woman, with that empowerment she is going all over the country from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, living there for 2 months in the remote villages and mobilizing the fellow women. That is the greatest change, this movement. Once she was not allowed to come out of the house. Today she is leaving the house, leaving the district, state, staying in Ladakh, staying in Kargil, staying in the desert of Rajasthan for 1 month, 2 months, mobilizing the fellow women. Language does not become a barrier, I am telling you. Women speaking women in her own language. See, I am poor, my dear sister. That hug, that smile, that confidence is passing on the message. They are learning Hindi, they are learning English. See the potential. So, my dear students, the reality is you should come near to the reality. By seeing figures, facts, don't deceive by those figures and facts. Come down to the ground, see the reality, and your contribution to this movement is very much needed, urgent. This movement to spread to all the developing countries. That is what I am thinking right now. It should spread to all the developed and underdeveloped countries, but not in the meaning of self-help group means. It is not microfinance. It is a social movement. Thank you so much.
Well, I think we do. We've had a wonderful panel. I think between Rainana setting the context and Shoaib Sultan Khan giving us the philosophy and theory, and then Vijaya telling us what it really takes and what really happens. I think it's wonderful. So we'll open it up now. We started 10 minutes late, so I'm told we can go for another 10 minutes. And the rule in the Kennedy School of Government is there are mics and you stand and we call you in order. And you're supposed to ask a question that ends in a question mark is what the dean always said. And we'll take it from there.
Let's do roughly 2 questions because we've run over.
Oh, okay. I'm now being told we have time for 2 questions. So where are there mics? I can't see them. Just hands. Okay. The woman in the white, right there.
Yeah. Question. Thank you so much, Dr. Jia. This is a great presentation. Question for you. You start off your speech by saying how self-help groups have been around for a very long time, but it's a silent movement. And I was wondering, is there a reason why it continues to stay silent and it doesn't associate itself with a non-political group like NTUI, which is a union initiative in India, which is not affiliated to any political group. And I was wondering, has that been a conscious decision on your part to not be affiliated with the union movement? Do you look at it as something that belongs to the past and will hinder your progress going forward?
Okay, let's take the second question and then we can have both speakers respond. And where's the next hand? Okay, right there. Now a woman in black. Okay.
We have seen many seasons, so we have seen Indira Gandhi and Sheikh So when it comes to rural leaders, like at a higher level, the society has no problem in accepting them as their leader. But when it comes to your family, you are not ready to accept a female as a leader. So I'm always confused, like why is that? If you can shed some light on it.
Okay. Vijay, we'll start with you and then we can let Shoaib also make a comment. So just hold it here.
Yes, we cautiously kept this movement out of politics. There is a reason for that. You know, today in rural areas of Indian villages, the politics creeps everywhere. You know, so many groups, so many factions, so many politics. So if you go by that, we cannot achieve the noble cause of poverty alleviation. So we are very cautious. In SHG, all the women will be there. It is a homogeneous group, women group, that's all. We won't allow only men, that's all. Women, no other, no politics, nothing. If there is politics, the group meeting, they conduct 4 meetings in a month. So they will discuss only politics, they will fight like our assembly and parliament and they will go. No, in our group meetings we discuss why Ratnamma is so sad today, why Sita's daughter not going to school, any problem. So some other mother-in-law is in hospital, let us go in. Only this kind of agenda, the doctor is not coming properly to the hospital, we should teach him a lesson. So this is a common agenda, common problems. When once we enter into politics, even though we don't want to scold him, we have to scold him, no? Because of the party. So if that politics enter into this women movement, there ends everything. So we are so cautious that this does not touch. But one miracle happened, my dear. 3 governments changed in Andhra Pradesh. There is no other way for any government except to support this movement. Because in Andhra Pradesh, 1 million women joined the organization. It is a big platform, no? Any party, any government should support them. So we need not enter into politics. They will come to us once we become strong. That's the thing.
He asked about women leaders, political leaders, but then why?
There are many challenges. It is not a one-day process, no. It is a 20 years social mobilization process. There are many challenges, and what you asked is one of the major challenges to bring this movement forward. The first challenge we faced, my dear friend, I still remember one day, Hayatbi was outside on the street and weeping. All of us went and said, why you are here? Why didn't you go to home after the meeting? She said, my husband locked the house. He is not allowing me to come inside because I attend the meeting. The first problem comes from home. Once she started going to the meetings, self-help group meetings, the first person who objects her was the husband. But with a little bit of patience, after 6 months, 1 year, he understood. She is not going for herself. She is going for the welfare of the whole family. Once the microcredit plan was prepared for the entire family, she does not ask any loan for her saree or jewelry. She asks some loan for the education of the child, for agriculture, for the health of her husband. then the whole family understand she is going out for the welfare of the whole family, that problem subside by itself. That is the first challenge we face. The second challenge we face was in this women leadership, the sarpanches. Yeah. The sarpanches, they are not happy with this movement. Oh, women are participating everywhere. What is our role here? They are doing development. One day they went for a protest to the district collector. We will resign to jobs. You are giving more importance to the women and women federations. Then the district collector says, okay, go ahead, you can resign. But no sarpanch resigns. They come back. That is another story. There are so many threats, challenges for this movement. When you once come to upstairs, if you want to learn more, because Martha is looking at me, so I will share with you.
Yes, I am the timekeeper, but just to say two things. One, the theme of social mobilization, of organization, of process, and platforms for negotiation, not blueprints and top-down planning, came through loud and clear. And our two speakers who are with us are going to go up to the Fainsod room, which is up there, third floor, and they'd be happy to meet with anyone who wants to talk more with them. But we have to clear this stage for the next panel. Thank you very much.